I'm operating here from the glass enclosed nerve center of the Washington, D.C. office of AURP. Our headquarters is at U of A Tech Park. I'm in the WeWork here, and we have a little bit of snow on the ground. My understanding is in Pennsylvania, the groundhog did not see his shadow, so we have another 9 weeks of cold weather. I think that's how it works. Anyway, that's me, and I'll let my colleagues from the southern, warmer part of AURP introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Vicki Palmer. I am at Tucson, Arizona at our main headquarters for AURP, and we're at the UA Tech Park. Happy to have you all here, and we really want to ramp up our peer-to-peer programming, which is every other week, and our communicators check-in, which is once a month. We tried to keep the calendar on a regular cycle. There was some holidays or other programming that we had to work around for a couple months through the year, but we do have the full year scheduled out as far as dates. But we really would be interested to hear from you all on topics, or if you want to keep it as a total roundtable each time. You know, if we want to share responsibilities for it, in like if you want to throw out discussion topics for the future scheduled, and you know, and kind of get discussion going that way. But we're really trying to build out this program, and I know we've had a core group, you know, pretty much every month in the past, but we want to try and build on that too. So look forward to all your help with that.
Okay.
My turn. Sorry. Multitasking. I've had some emails with registration links to get onto here. I'm Diana. I am the executive administrator for AURP. And I am the person that if you ever have trouble registering or getting into any of the Zoom links or any webinars or anything like that, I am your person. I'm very excited to get this meeting back on again. Communicators was always one of my favorite Zoom calls last year. So I'm really excited to get this started again and to see all of your guys' faces and some new faces.
Jessa.
Hi, I'm Jessa Turner. I do communications for Tech Parks, Arizona, where these lovely ladies, they're on either side are located. And I work with Amber too, and I will let her introduce herself. I will say that the communicators meetings have been really valuable to me over the years when I was a newbie in the profession, and no matter how long I stay at the Tech Park, I learn something new from my colleagues around the nation. So Amber, why don't you tell them about yourself?
Hello, I'm Amber Wilkerson. I am the marketing and communication specialist at Tech Parks, Arizona, and I work with Jessa. And a lot of my work is rooted in social media. So I help run our social media accounts.
Do you do LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, I guess? Are those your main outlets, or which outlets are you finding that are best? LinkedIn, I assume?
We have LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and it depends on the account. We have more of a following on Twitter at the Tech Park, and then UACI, I believe, does better on LinkedIn. I could be wrong, though. I'm going off of the top of my head.
Yeah.
Hey, Matthew, how about you?
Sure. Well, thanks for welcoming me to the group. As of September 2020, was able to have the opportunity to become the CEO of the West Virginia Regional Technology Park. So while communication is not 100% of my role, it's a big part of it. And so while we don't have anyone on our staff right now that's solely communications, I wanted to log in and learn more about what you guys do hopefully share some wisdom if I have any that might benefit you as well. I appreciate the peer groups. I was in a national association like this one in my previous role, where I was the president of a chamber of commerce and an economic development organization, and these were always extremely helpful. So I look forward to learning from all of you. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Kate.
Hello, I'm Kate Engel. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Communication for Nebraska Innovation Campus. So located in snowy Lincoln, Nebraska. We are still trying to dig out from the storm that we got last week. So all good, but like Justice said, always excited to be part of this group and connect and learn from all of you.
Great, thanks. And Miles, are you there? Are you in your next building yet? Okay, well,
Hey,
hey.
I'm here. I found out last minute that we are hosting a state senator tomorrow for him to run his legislative committee. So I'm setting up the room while our staff is out. Oh, excuse me for the shortness of breath. I've been moving TVs around. Hi, I'm Miles Thomas. I know some of you. Welcome to the new folks. I'm the Director of Economic Development and Governmental Affairs for the Port of Benton in Southeast Washington. And by virtue of that position, I'm also the Executive Director of the Tri-Cities Research District. And I can't think of much more to say right now.
But you do it
I'll
all.
listen in.
Yeah, great. Back to you, Brian.
Well, I mean, as Jessa said, this is an open roundtable. Why don't we start with that question about what I posed to Amber about what's the most effective link for research parks. I mean, I don't do Instagram, I'm perhaps too old. I found LinkedIn is pretty effective, and Twitter, at least me personally, and ARP does have a Facebook page, but I think mostly we're doing Twitter and LinkedIn. But anyway, Matt, what about you there in West Virginia? And by the way, do you, your staff, you said you're doing some communications. Is it just because you're so thinly staffed, or are you going to grow and get a communications person?
Oh yeah. We have a consulting firm that helps me really right now, but I'm kind of doing the day-to-day until we get someone on staff. So we run on a fiscal year, so I think in our next year's budget, which will be July 1, we'll be able to budget for someone to do communications for us. So when I got here, our communications were pretty bad. We have a great logo. If it was 10 years ago, we're redoing that. We did not have a LinkedIn page at all. We started that on December the 5th. I've got a couple hundred followers now. I'm just populating it with content to get interested parties, inviting people, that work here at the park. We did have a Facebook page. Interestingly, this was a Union Carbide Dow facility, and they began to tear the park down in the early 2000s. So I actually, in my old role as an economic developer, had created a Facebook page called Save the Tech Park. Long story short, we ultimately saved it. The state now owns it. I now run it. We had gotten about 1,500 to 1,600 people to follow that page. So we actually convinced Facebook to change that page to just our, which by the way is like an act of Congress. I'm sure some of you have gone through that. We got them to change it just to the West Virginia Regional Technology Park page. So we were able to capture all of those folks and then bring on new people as well. Twitter is my next stop, Brian. I also love it for gathering news. We haven't quite graduated to Instagram yet. I know we're behind. I recognize that. It's just with it just being me and doing other CEO things, I'll probably only make it to those three until we get our communications person on board. I would only add that West Virginia, the State Department of Commerce is doing a Yes West Virginia hashtag campaign. So we've been fully participating in that. That's been driving some good likes and things to me. And personally, I've been trying to up my SSI, whatever the heck that is, sales index or whatever. And I've gotten it up to about 73 from when I started at 60. So the state's been helping us with that so that we're personally posting good content as well that attracts people to reach out to us. Hopefully that was helpful, Brian.
Yeah, no, at some point now we'll have to talk about what SSI. So I have no idea. I'm not a communicator. You guys are the expert, but does that mean you can go up to 100? Is it like so you're at a D? I mean,
I don't know.
I have no idea.
My understanding is the higher it is, and please others jump in, the higher it is, the better you're going to come up in the algorithm in people's feeds for specific content. So I've been posting a lot about chemistry and technology and things like that we specialize in. And so mine was 60 when I started in September, and they've helped me get it up to 73. They tell me the magic number is 80. If you can hit 80, you're really going to be showing up a lot more frequently in people's searches and in their feeds. And please, you won't hurt my feelings. Anyone wants to correct that. That's just my best understanding of it.
West Virginia was, I'm not going to talk about that. I was just going to say West Virginia and your whole rollout with COVID vaccines was all in the news, lately. So congratulations on that.
Thanks. We are getting that right. I think, fastest rollout in the country. Yeah.
Right. And they were talking about how you all started planning back in March last year before a vaccine was even really talked about.
Yeah, and one of our tenants here, it's a new tenant that just started in 2019, has now taken up COVID testing and storage of the vaccine. And they've grown, when I got here in September, I think from 7 employees, and they have 12 now just in about 6 or 8 months. So.
And you have a very important senator
Yeah,
that we hope to involve in helping advance AURP. So thank you, Pat, for volunteering him.
He's the swing vote. He's the swing vote. And a good friend, thankfully. And one of my board members is his treasurer, as I told Brian. So if we need to talk as a tech park community as a whole with him, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, great. Come on, you communicators, communicate. Who wants to jump in and tell us?
I was going to say, so we currently for Innovation Campus use Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Also thinking about joining the Instagram bandwagon, but haven't because I literally don't have enough humans to take pictures. But then when the pandemic happened, also, it was like, nobody wants to see my dining room, right? So I think it will, now that Facebook has made it so much easier to link directly to our Instagram account, and that the content could be easily posted twice. I'm reconsidering that, but that's where we sit right now. A lot of our followers, our community followers, I should say, especially those in the western part of Nebraska, definitely rely on Facebook because we are probably feeding to a bit of an older population that are interested in just what's happening and why the state fair moved and all of those things that went on to make the research park happen. But around Lincoln, I would say locally that Twitter is that's where most people go. And LinkedIn, we honestly didn't use LinkedIn a ton. I used it personally, but we didn't use it a lot for Innovation Campus, and have really in the past year increased that. And we've seen quite a bit of leverage from sharing it on the Innovation Campus page, but then sharing it on my page, Dan's page, that kind of stuff as well. So that's where we are. And I'm not going to Snapchat. Just not doing it.
So we're about the same, both for the port and the research district. We do Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I'm thinking there's one more out there, but we did have an Instagram. We don't do it because it was so difficult because initially you had to post only through a smartphone. Same situation. I don't have enough people to go out and take pictures and be able to post them from their devices. But maybe we'll look at that now that it's a little easier, possibly. You guys might have some advice on this. So since March of 2020, we posted monthly about between 8 and 12 articles on our research district website. And then we would share those articles with our contact list on Constant Contact. And we had a lot of good content on stuff that was happening around us, stuff that was important to the research district and the employers that have their operations here. But just kind of culling together that level of content every month with a small team was very difficult for us, and the analytics didn't really show that we were getting that broad a return on investment, even though we had a lot of people asking for us to be more present and show information about what's going on in the district. I canceled our guest editor that wrote most of our articles last month. It was just a temporary contract anyway, but we're kind of thinking we're going to take another tact and be more present on social, particularly LinkedIn, with the information, maybe less frequent, but a little bit more in depth and more about what's actually happening in the research district. I just couldn't justify the time that Constant Contact took us to develop content for. But that's kind of the situation we're in. We're still rethinking our strategy.
Right. And to support that, I mean, even at AURP, you know, we used to have 2 different types of newsletters. One was really North American centric, and one was more international. And it became very difficult to like separate those topics for one, but then we used to have them multiple times per each month. So it was like, it was really difficult. But we've like, you know, especially during the pandemic, like, you know, we've stuck with now the Park Post, you know, and it's national, international, everything. But we play with it like in different times of the week and different, you know, times each day. And it's interesting to even watch that and the engagement level. But yeah, the content, you know, and putting it together is really difficult. And we have someone helping with it. So
how many people did you have involved in that process, or still have involved in the newsletter process?
In our newsletter? So we all feed content into it as we see different articles, or we talk to different people, or we hear member news. We all feed it into someone that we have subcontracted with. And I try to put together like different highlights that I want him to include and feed him either an article or, you know, that I've written or whatever. So he can build it out after that. And then we all have input into it. So 3 or 4 of us. So.
And obviously a lot, and we're also pushing our events. So, you know, that may be a little bit different than. You know.
Well, and you're pushing your events. It's a hard sell. You know, I know that I have written down for something for me to even ponder, but I think it was Jessa maybe that brought it up in the past. Like, who am I delivering my content to? Is it the internal, you know, more, you know, community, or national or international? And, you know, who is my end goal person that I want to deliver to? So I still ponder that one. Just like you.
Our focus, I guess, is primarily on recruiting new talent and businesses into our research park. Mm-hmm. But that's a little twofold, because we want to engage the existing tenants so that we continue to share the opportunities to work with them.
Right.
But it quickly gets very complicated to refine your message.
Right. It takes a lot of time.
Well, I gotta say,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I really liked, and I'm totally blanking on her name right now, but from Illinois Research Park, I really liked her presentation to us, like 4th quarter, I think, on kind of her marketing strategy and the interns that she had helping.
Laura Blyle.
Yeah, that was really helpful.
Yeah. I was just talking to Erin Koshet about her and that internship program. I mean, it's, you know, they have the corporate innovation centers there, so it is a little bit different dynamic, but yeah, that internship program is incredible.
Yeah, they've done a great job with that up there. Mm-hmm. And they have it down too. Like, and I don't remember how many interns they have all the time.
I thought it was like 20 or something. Yeah. It was big.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Um,
interns. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see we have Julie joined us. I don't know if Julie wants to jump on because she doesn't have a camera.
Hello.
Oh.
There you go.
There she
It's
is.
kind of creepy when somebody comes in and the camera's off. I just was trying to not be
We need your name.
sorry. Yeah. I was trying to figure out how to get in. So thank you. Julie Halls, I'm the founder and CEO of Waymaker Group. We actually provide consulting services to research parks and innovation districts. And so we are working right now in Kenosha, Wisconsin. We have a 107-acre project that we're supporting the city on. We're helping them with vision and development, and we're just about to complete the master planning process for this 107-acre project, which is very exciting. We are clearly in the very nascent stages of the project, but we are also about to advise the mayor on what he should be considering for in terms of internal and external communication. So I really appreciate the opportunity today to listen to each of you and learn more about best practices from around the country.
And thank you for joining AURP.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
We appreciate you joining.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, Brian, I know we haven't really talked before this call today. I was wondering if, before we head out, if you talk about the REAP program that we heard about this morning from MIT.
Yeah, and especially Julie, but everyone should be interested in this. So we're doing, we're going to our spring training, which some of you may have attended, which used to take place in person in Tempe in actually February, towards the end of the month. But we have to pivot, of course, virtually, and we are going to a virtual in April, 4 days each week of April from 12:30 Eastern time to 2:30. And we have different modules. One's on kind of real estate, one's on diversity and equity, one's on smart cities. And the fourth one, I mean, right now it's sort of called the geography of innovation, but it's really about being strategic on creating innovation ecosystems. So we have two folks from MIT, a program called REAP, which stands for Regional Entrepreneurship Acceleration Program. And so there's a cadre of scientists at MIT that sort of study the geography of innovation, why around anchor institutions, particularly universities, you have startups, and what are strategies to sort of grow and keep them, and involving research parks and anchor institutions. This REAP program is pretty international. I think they've had 8 cohorts of maybe four jurisdictions, and it's worldwide. So actually the only jurisdiction they did was in Kentucky, and I think they involved Coldstream Research Park, which is one of our AURP members. Anyway, you might want to, Julie, you especially, but anyone, make sure you sign up for spring training, and I think you'll find a pretty good deep dive into the geography of innovation, and really they're not going to be able to do a summary of the cohort, but you'll get some interesting ideas of how they do that, because each cohort in the MIT program takes 2 years. So it's not, fly in a consultant and, a week later you have your strategic plan. But I think there will be some learnings that all of the parks could benefit from.
What was interesting about the in-depth content they were talking about was stakeholder engagement. So it really was interesting. So.
Yeah. So Julie, since we have you here and you're a consultant, so how do you use Twitter or LinkedIn? How do you get your clients? How do you find your clients?
Well, oh gosh, that's a kind question. I'm way more interested actually in actually asking questions about kind of best practices for merging internal, external communications efforts. And I can go into a little bit more of that. To answer your question though, it's really just frankly, good old fashioned relationship development, which clearly has been a challenge since COVID, right? I have a history in Austin, Texas, and my colleagues have networks in other parts of the country. Our services are focused on the middle part of the country in particular. So we're fortunate just because we have a nice network, but it's just been kind of one-on-one reach outs with folks on LinkedIn. LinkedIn clearly is just a good avenue for us. But I would love to ask a question.
Please, this is why we have it. Go ahead.
That's okay. As the city of Kenosha embarks on its master planning process, clearly because of what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin last summer, the city has commissioned its master planning effort with Smith Group out of Chicago, and we know that we're going to be taking extra special care with the community engagement and neighborhood engagement. Kenosha is like a lot of other communities in this country, and that they've suffered from some racial tension issues and all kinds of issues. Anyway, in the middle of Kenosha is this 107 acres. We have a minimum 6 months dedicated to engaging the community and really seeking their input on this plan. We want to make sure, and from the get-go, this project has, of course, intended to be very, very inclusive. And I'm curious about maybe I hope this is appropriate, communication efforts that you guys have used to communicate, I guess, with your local consumers. And how do you merge sort of what needs to happen internally within your market in terms of engagement and buy-in with what also has to happen externally in terms of reaching your consumers? I've heard a little bit of dialogue about that this afternoon. So I guess what I'm really asking is, how does the city of Kenosha avoid building 3 or 4 websites to solicit different categories of engagement and input? And that question may not be appropriate. And if it's not, you'll just have to be honest. Maybe it doesn't apply.
I'm just being quiet because I think I need the answer too. I don't have it.
I don't know if I have an answer for you, and I do feel like it's an appropriate question to ask because I don't think there's any questions off limits, because as communicators, everyone, wants a soundboard. So I do know that when we were developing, and we're still developing a park in very historic neighborhoods, that people needed to know about what was coming and that we were an ally to them. So we did like a road tour, and maybe we didn't use technology to our best advantage, but then also we had that opportunity to really show that we're personally connected to the neighborhoods. So we had a series of public information meetings and listening, coffee meetings, and listening, and more listening and more listening. And then at the right opportunity, really showcasing, okay, here's what the building's going to be. Here's how this directly impacts your neighborhoods. There's going to be jobs here that you don't have to have a 4-year degree for. There's a lot of jobs that are available in the tech sector that you don't need to have that 4-year degree. And so educating and letting them know that there were jobs coming to their neighborhood that were attainable was really valuable too.
Awesome.
So that was one approach that we took. A website of lots of information is probably more efficient, or soliciting input from folks, that could be important as well. But really the personal hand-holding was a good start to repairing or building that relationship.
Yeah, we definitely have some repair work to do, needless to say, in Kenosha. So that's great feedback. And I guess, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I would just add to Jessa, so our park is at the former state fairgrounds. And so it was decided that the state fair would be moved before Dan and I came on board. It was not doing particularly well in Lincoln at that point. However, it had been here for its history and people were very connected to it. And they were very unsettled that it was being whisked away to Grand Island, even though it is so much more successful. They have beautiful facilities. And so that was kind of what we thought at the beginning, was that we were the people that took away the state fair, which is not a super fun label to have in the Midwest.
Right.
But we used a couple of the historic buildings. And so once we got them to a point that we could invite people to see them, and get people from across the state to come in and see that probably their two most favorite buildings of the state fair really looked and felt the same, but had this facelift and a whole new life, whereas they would have just been torn down, right? Had we not brought the park to that space. That was a real game changer for people. Like, it was one thing for us to go out and share a PowerPoint or put up a website or tell the story, but they needed to come see the space for themselves and say like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I get it. You saved this. The building was saved. It has a bright future. Like, can we just wander around in it and take our picture with the plaque that says the building was dedicated in 1931 and touch the brick, right? And all the things. And once we kind of got that population excited about it, people around here were grateful that it wasn't a hot mess anymore and that they, that the area was cleaned up and served this great purpose. But we had to really open our doors and say, come in, see the space, experience the space, go tell your friends, that we didn't, that we kept the integrity of the history of those important buildings. And that's been neat to see. And now we're able to tell that story, right? Instead of, why did the state fair move? And we do that through a lot of pictures, and really we're trying to move away even from talking about our buildings to talking about what the people are doing in those buildings, so that the story is about the people and the technology coming out of it and the exciting things that are happening within what used to be a livestock show ring, right? So we kind of have gone through these phases and have had the opportunity to tell the story and then move away from some of those things that we don't always love to talk about.
Yeah, that's great feedback.
We also did a couple of projects. So like there were some really diseased trees, and I know this is going to sound really strange, but people were really upset that we were taking these trees down, even though they needed to go. And we turned those into a couple of tables within the facility. So the trees are still at the state fair. They have a new purpose and a new life. So anything like that we could kind of grab onto and say like, yes, it's different, but it's still here and it's serving a new purpose. And oh, by the way, here's this fantastic technology that came out of here. We've really tried to do that so that people can know that we were thoughtful of the history, but that we're also moving on.
That's great. I love that idea too. And we've talked in Kenosha about potentially developing an innovation walk throughout the project, right? That really showcases some of the historical high points of the region's innovative history. That's good feedback. Interesting the way that we as humans kind of connect, right?
Yeah.
Thank you both.
What else is going on in everybody's parks right now? With vaccines and pandemic and messaging.
Amber, do you want to talk about the Black History Month campaign you're doing?
Sure, yes. So for the month of February, every Friday, we are highlighting one Tech Park employee and one entrepreneur from our startup incubator, UACI. And we're highlighting what their position at the park, what they're passionate about, and also if it resonates with them, their favorite Black-owned business in Tucson. So yeah, we're highlighting Black's Friday, which is a local promotional business type website, social platform, not platform, but they're on social media. And their mission is to amplify and highlight Black-owned business in Arizona. That is the platform we're using. Not platform, that's the campaign we're doing.
Cool.
There's
Okay.
a friend of mine who really loves a Black-owned business here in Tucson, and they are doing their own kind of like fishing kind of thing here, where they produce like their own kind of, it's like a local kind of fish. I don't know, but you can go and they do like a whole drive-through like fish market and everything, and it's all locally owned, and it's technically fish and produce and stuff that is grown with their family here in Tucson. But I know that there's that business. I don't remember the name of it, but one of my friends, she loves going to get produce from them and stuff. So to try and support them. So I'll try to figure out the name and send it over to you guys.
When I think of Arizona, I think of many things, but fish is not one of them.
I know.
Yeah, well, it's like, yeah, like I think I don't know, it's something like that. I don't remember because it's been a while. But my friends really try and do stuff in the and are try and get local food and local produce,
Yeah.
kind of like the
Yeah.
Unity Lab, where you can
Sounds
get
cool.
It's similar to that, but I know it's a Black-owned business, and they help. You can get like locally grown and harvested stuff there. So I'll figure out the name and I'll send it over to you. Sorry, that's good.
We'll report back on the fish market.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what's going on in West Virginia?
Oh, thanks, Vicki. We're just finishing up about a $1.3 million upgrade to our fiber network.
Oh, wow.
So just adding some more redundancy and speed to that. We're building a new $7 million building for the National Weather Service, which is pretty exciting.
Wow.
On our campus. So a new facility. I've just signed the contract on that, so it'll be started in the next few weeks. And just landed a natural gas company as well on their kind of engineering, back office engineering, are moving in basically this week. So, but probably as a state, and this is a good ways away from our park, a couple of hours, but the Virgin Hyperloop testing center was announced to be built in West Virginia. So the new Hyperloop 7-mile testing track is being built a little closer to DC and kind of our Eastern Panhandle area. So that's pretty, for the state, it's very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, they're tunneling between Baltimore and Washington, the Hyperloop guys. Through the Boring Company. Is this the Boring Company?
Well, as I understand Virgin Hyperloop, I don't know that it'll be underground. It might be, but this is the,
Oh, this is Virgin, not,
yeah.
Okay.
Virgin. There's a couple out there, yeah.
Yeah, there's a Hyperloop. Anyway, going back to your National Weather Service, you may know this, but so at College Park in Maryland Discovery District, we have a big NOAA, National Centers for Environmental Prediction. University of Oklahoma Norman has a severe storm center. NC Centennial Campus has a part of the National Weather Service. So we should think about creating the Weather Service Caucus, because actually the former director of the National Weather Service, I knew him pretty well, and he said, we get better data when we have our centers, next to universities. And he sort of, demonstrated, he had some data that he would trot out. But anyway, so that's great that they're going to be a tenant there in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks. We're excited about it. Our other technology park in the state, we really just have two in near Morgantown, near WVU, has a NOAA supercomputer. So we both will have a NOAA's presence as well.
Yeah, and you're going to help us get West Virginia University back in the AURP fold, right?
Yes,
Because we want West Virginia to go Mountaineers. We want you to be well represented in the community of innovation of the AURP.
No, I committed to you on the call, Brian. We'll definitely get them back in.
Okay, looking forward to it. All right, anything else? Come on, guys. Ask some questions.
I have a quick one, maybe. Our research district has been without well, in our community has been without an SBDC advisor for almost 3 years now, which is super unfortunate for a lot of our startup companies. But I'm curious if any of you have been working with any of your SBDC advisors locally or in your park, and kind of how they've maybe changed their support to new businesses during COVID, or if they're even doing anything different.
So this is Brian, let me jump in. So we will have the Office of Innovation from the SBA speak, and I don't think Vicki and Diana know this yet, but I mean, March 24th, is that our next webinar? Anyway, they've committed to speak about the role of the SBA in helping small companies in our tech parks. Because I mean, this is kind of beyond SBIR and STTR funding, which most of us know about. But they have a set of assets that they are developing. So that's one way that we hope to connect with them. But obviously, I'm just curious, who runs the SBDC for the state of Washington? I know in Maryland, the University of Maryland runs it. So actually in the WeWork where I am, the state of Maryland, University of Maryland Small Business Development Center is co-located with us here. Why isn't there a connection with your state of Washington SBDC?
So ours is also a university. So Washington State University is in charge of the contract from SBA, and they have had advisors in the past, and the community match was matched by the local campus of WSU and another community college. We, frankly, I don't know if it's just the interview process to kind of assess people's level of understanding about the community or the job, but the last 2 advisors that they hired for our area left within 3 months. Each of them left within 3 months. And it just seems like they have a hard time finding people that want to stay. Or, I mean, many of the ones that have left, they've gone on to other jobs in the area. And the salary is competitive, especially with local salaries in the field, but it just seems like a lot of folks that have taken the job have used it as a jumping off point to go on to other opportunities in the community, but we can't get a solid person that just stays. And that could be too, I mean, they're the only person here, so maybe they're not getting much support from the university system, but I'm not sure. It's been difficult. I've actually been working on this since 2016 in different jobs, because I used to work for the city of Richland, and we had brought this up in 2016 when there was a 2-year hiatus. So I don't know. Definitely see the value in them though.
Yeah, so maybe we'll continue to talk about that, and we're probably also going to have a session about the SBA, provides the support to small businesses on export training, and that seems to be another area where the new Biden administration is putting a lot of resources in. So we hope to have some sessions involving how the SBA can help small businesses, especially small tech businesses that don't have large marketing departments, to help build a strategy for exporting, which is, 95% of customers are outside the United States. So anyway.
Well, I'll definitely be interested to join that session in March. That sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds port of Benton. I would think port would be very important for exporting.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, looks like we're losing some people. Do we, any other?
I have put a link to some of our virtual seminars that we'll be having this year into the chat. We have one coming up on February 24th, and then, but more details will be on this link once we start finding out more details. So just check back onto here, and then we do have some of our other previous sessions on demand as well.
And when's our next communicators?
So communicators now will be once a month, the first Tuesday of every month. I believe, so the next one will actually be March 2nd and at 2 p.m. Eastern time.
And if anyone would like to volunteer to be the, the actual host, and if you want to suggest topics and, do a presentation, we're, as long as it's related to communication, we're perfectly willing to accommodate you. So, reach out to your other folks and let's get this group larger and put it on your calendar.
And as you all know, it
Yes.
doesn't have to be a topic that you necessarily know about. You maybe when you want to learn about.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck tomorrow, Miles.
Thank you.